this week. Becky quit. Joke. Andrew Ross Sorkin, don't worry. We're not competing with you this week.
Also, freaks, hand up. I'm pretty proud of the amount of world travel I've been able to do in my lifetime, but jet lag hits different with the toddlers. So sorry I did not warn you guys when we were going live. I'm still we got in late last night. I'm still a little bit out of it, but we'll get back into the swing of things starting next week.
On behalf of freaks everywhere, you are forgiven. No need to apologize, sir. Don't worry about it.
Dude, I will say, flights wise, like it worked out better than I like. It's really impossible to complain.
Yeah, I was worried for you guys there for a second, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the freaks don't know. Well, if you've been reading between the lines, they might know, but we were fortunate enough to have a second child as well. So we were traveling, the four of us, and so it was more than just one, which we had done with him in the past. But yeah, they handled the flights well. I was proud. I was proud of my wife, and I was proud of my kids.
It's not fun traveling internationally with kids. I've done it. I've had good experiences, have had bad experiences, and I'm very happy to hear that your most recent experience was a good one.
Freaks, travel more while you can. I think it's going to get harder, not easier.
Any diary entries from traversing Europe that you want to share with the
Dude, Switzerland's good. Switzerland's, maybe Switzerland, I don't know if you can believe everything you read on the internet, but maybe Switzerland is like the last stand of Europe. It still felt like Europe. It didn't feel like failed society stuff.
It's good to hear.
Lugano's awesome. Lugano's so cool. It's like 300 plus stores except Bitcoin. Like that's awesome. It just feels like you're living in the future. Like tons of bars, burger places, restaurants, and like I said, merchants. In general, stores, boutiques, everywhere except Bitcoin. It's super cool, and it's a beautiful place. It feels very safe. But I will say Switzerland, guys, is very expensive. Both Zurich and Lugano. I thought it was maybe just a Lugano thing, but Zurich was quite expensive too.
Yeah. Zug is famously expensive. I'll never forget when I back in my TradFi days when I was working at the Managed Futures Fund. We had a manager come in from Switzerland and he literally took out a diamond encrusted pen to take notes during our meeting. I was like 22 at the time. I was like, holy shit, bro. What is that thing?
It's super expensive. And I will say also, first time at the Plan B conference, and the freaks that have been paying attention for a while know that getting a bit tired of events, but this was a good one. This was a really good event. They did a really good job. Best in class. I was really impressed. Vibes are high. Speakers are good. All the side events and stuff like food, food and drink. As someone who has unfortunately run many events myself, like it was just flawless execution. It was really impressive.
The drone show looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that must have been no one would give me a hard answer, but like $500,000 drone show. Like how many drones were involved? I think that was expensive.
There were some sick memes that they were putting in the sky there.
I think that was expensive. I mean, I think, Tether probably was not running it to make a profit, which helped. They're plenty profitable in their main business. But I think that was a really cool fucking drone. Seeing it in person was fucking awesome. I can't imagine. I was thinking and it was just all Bitcoin memes. Like imagine just being like an ordinary Swiss person, like living in Lugano, just like you're like sitting on your porch, like what the hell's going on over the lake over there?
Why are there Pepe the Frogs in the air right now?
Why am I looking at an IQ bell curve meme?
The FOMO was building as the week was going on. From afar, it looked like a very well organized and high production conference. How was the startup pitch? Shark
Oh,
Tank shit.
Cypher Tank. It went well. It went well. I'm not allowed to say anything about it until it's live. But I guess it's going to get posted to Rumble in December. Very high production quality. They seem to be taking it very seriously. It's cool to see young people just really excited about building on Bitcoin. That by far was the best part to me. And just really, it was a fun experience.
Next year, I want to make it to Lugano. You heard it here first. October 30th, year of our Lord 2025, 2:27 p.m. Eastern. It's a Thursday. Moving over to the Nostr live chat, we've got two 21,000 sat boosts. First from Chef Tommy. We traveling with children internationally 2 times a year, and it never gets easier. Laughing emoji. God bless you.
Well, we
Chef
want to
Tommy.
have, two things. First of all, we want to have more kids. So whenever it was difficult, I just reminded myself that it only gets more difficult. So that helped a bit. And then NVK gave my wife and I probably one of the single best pieces of advice that he's ever given me a year ago or so. Maybe it was like a year and a half ago. And he was like, look, if you're on the plane, anyone who's a parent completely understands. They have their noise canceling headphones and they're just glad they're not in your position. And he's like, and then anyone without kids is completely worthless to society, so they don't really matter.
When you were setting that up, I was thinking go one or two ways. He gave you the best or worst advice ever. I was
It's good
sort of
advice.
hoping it was going to be the worst advice. He's telling you to walk up the aisles with your kids the whole flight.
I mean, look, if you don't have kids, I don't think you're worthless to society. He's obviously always been a very provocative individual. But of course, there's bad parents out there, but there's very few parents that are sitting there and are in a better situation than you. They're trying to calm down their kid. They're like trying to make it work out. They're stuck in a steel tube. There's no escape. It's not like a restaurant where they can leave, walk out with the kid. And like the airlines, like they even like if you're not traveling with a kid, they just treat you like cattle, right? It's like the whole process is like an absolute horrible process. And there's no like happy path that they give families. Like how is there not, if it wasn't this heavily regulated, bullshit market, if it was an actual free market, I can't help but think that we would have, a more positive family environment. You can imagine, like put a family section on planes or something that is like separated from people that have like sound barriers. I bet you they can't put barriers up because of safety regulations. Well, if the plane crashes, like you're all gonna fucking die anyway. Like, don't just put a separate exit back there.
Might as well let the childless people have some peace before they die by putting the barrier
Yeah.
up, you know?
Yeah, put a sound barrier and also just like a physical running barrier. Like I don't know about like my toddler, like if I closed my eyes for like 2 seconds, he was gonna try and make a fucking run for it. Be down the plane.
We kept our
So
second child in a car seat on a plane for as long as possible until he was physically too big.
yeah, we didn't do the car seat thing. That's also the funny thing. It's like, so like at his age now, he has his own seat. And on one of the flights, there's like 6 flights, right? On one of the flights, he really wanted to, he loves looking out the window. He loves planes and stuff. And like refused to stay seated. So I put him in my lap and I was just like bear hugging him, I was like a human straitjacket. And the stewardess was like, no, FAA regulation says he has to be in his seat with the seatbelt on. I was like, well, there's no way that's safer. Like, we're all just turning a blind eye here. Like, I got my seatbelt on. I'll hold on to him for crashing. But their hands are tied in a heavily litigious environment. And then meanwhile, all the super rich people are like flying on their private planes and shit. So there's no incentive to fix it. Like, they don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, we just have to get super rich, and then we can just ignore the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's like when I was younger, like the drinking age, it was like, oh, they could like sentence you to as an adult. They can send you off in the draft, but you can't drink. Blah blah. It was like one of my single biggest issues. And then as soon as you turn 21, you're like, fuck them. I dealt with it.
Yeah, go have fun in the woods, kids. I had to do it too. Yeah. No, you're mentioning. I will say though, earlier this year, Costa Rica, the airport in San Juan, or no, Liberia. We flew in and out of Liberia. Incredible service for families. Like, we walked in, there was a long security line. Somebody noticed it was myself, my wife, and our 2 children at the time, and they came and were like, all right, you guys get to the front of the line. And, like, walked us to the front of the line, got us through security in like 5 minutes. It was great.
Where
Need
was
more of that.
that?
Costa Rica.
Yeah, all the other cultures tend to do it better on the family side, and like that benefits everybody. Like, you also don't want the kids stuck in a long
Oh,
security line. Like, if you're standing there, you're gonna have to deal with. Everyone's gonna have
oh,
to deal with it.
on the back half of that flight, the destination Dallas that are connecting, going back to Austin, we
Yeah.
waited in customs for an hour and a half, and then waiting in security line to get back in the airport another hour. It was pure torture for everybody.
I
Kids, bystanders.
Yeah, one of the TSA checks I walked through. And this is just such a funny start of this episode. But anyway, one of the TSA checks I walked through with my son, and we supposedly rang the random check or whatever. And so he's like, they got like uh,
Wand.
the wand, the bomb wand thing that they like wand all over to test or whatever. They're doing like my son's hands, his feet. He's got his little backpack. Like, they're doing his backpack. Like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, this is the priority. Got it. Whatever. He handled it well, but it was just hilarious. It's like wanding his shoes.
I found it out this weekend. TSA, we don't have to take our shoes off anymore at security, but if you're wearing cowboy boots, they automatically get like seen in the fucking body scan thing, and you have to take them out. I had to do this twice last weekend. It was not fun. We need to get
I
rid of the
saw.
TSA. How did the government not shut down the TSA for a period of time? We just need to experience that for like literally 1 week. Just American citizens experience the TSA not existing for a week, and I think they would be shut down rather quickly.
Well, that's the thing. Is like the rich people don't have to go through the TSA. Private airports don't have TSA. I see Yellow in the YouTube comments. Yeah, that was another Yellow performed live in Lugano, which was cool.
What's a
But I didn't
puppet
get
look
to.
like performing
I
live?
didn't get to meet him in person. Well, he
Another
was
Zap.
like he was literally on stage. He was just wearing a mask for OPSEC reasons.
He's not a big fluffy
He's an
yellow
actual
stuff.
person.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's interesting.
Spoiler.
Uh-huh. Soap miners at 21,000 sats. What's up, freaks? Can't stay as other obligations. We'll watch later, but wanted to zap the live show. Zap these guys. They provide value. Thank you, Soap miner. Used your product earlier today. I use it every day.
I see Buck 52,000 or whatever complaining about kids in restaurants, resorts, airplanes, yada yada yada. Look, there definitely are bad parents out there. I just think they're a minority. I also think, in terms of free market stuff, while there should be family focused stuff, there should also be, I'm surprised that there aren't actual market dynamics for, kid free airlines. There's kid free cruises, there's kid free resorts, there's plenty of restaurants that don't allow children.
I hate being
Um,
near your children in restaurants, resorts, and airplanes. Buck 52,000. Find a heart, sir. Find a heart.
yeah, you were a kid once, but still, once
Yeah,
again, like I said, there should be like I'm a free market guy. Like there's 100% should be options there. There's just something very wrong with the modern airline industry, and I'm pretty sure it all comes down to regulations.
it definitely does.
And the lack of proper free market dynamics, and that basically um, there's just a ton of state control there. And then the rich people fly private, so then there's just a massive disconnect, right? And if you want to fly private across the Atlantic, it's probably like $125,000. You want to fly private domestic, it's probably like $25,000. So it's just a huge jump between uh, commercial and private. I don't know. I'm
I think
hoping things like JSX try and solve it, but
they're,
there needs to be regulatory work done.
I forget if
It
it's
can't just be done.
Southwest. I think it's JetBlue is really trying to bury JSX. It's a shame that people won't let competition join the market. It is regulations. Logan,
The
pull up
other
the
thing
tweet.
is, oh, is this tweet about
I
airlines?
see the highlight. This is the bot of the day. Responded to RHR going live on Twitter. It says, "Love this deep dive into Bitcoin with Odell and Marty Bent. Pure gold. We haven't mentioned Bitcoin until I read this tweet. So this is a bot."
Well, the title says Bitcoin, um, and our last title said gold. The other thing, by the way, freaks, is recently I've been CO2 pilled um,
I've never heard of
by our
someone being CO2 pilled.
by our good friend Paul, the founder of Stakwork, and so he recommended this. Well, he actually gave me my first monitor, my first CO2 monitor. Then he said to give it to a friend, so I gave it to a friend, and then I bought another one. But the CO2 concentration, right? So oxygen versus CO2 in the air. When you're outside, it's about 500 parts per million. Um, Once it gets to like 2,000, your mental your mental capability drops like 25% or something. When it gets to like 4,000, you're basically retarded. Um, and so this is why airflow is incredibly important. And on airplanes, and one of the craziest parts of this whole thing is, a lot of important decisions in humanity are made in boardrooms and shit where there's like no airflow and lots of people, right? Lots of people and very little airflow make that number spike. The two places, so I've been just walking around with a CO2 sensor now all the time. Um, the two places that it gets really bad in is modern, particularly high-end hotels that don't let you open the windows.
Mm-hmm.
And then this, because they do it for energy efficiency, quote unquote, and like suicide liability, whatever. You can't open the windows. And the second is airports and airplanes. And you can see it like when you're sitting on the tarmac, you see it start spiking and spikes to like 2,000, 2,500. The kids are losing it. The adults are losing it. Like everyone is absolutely losing it. And then when you get to altitude, it usually comes back down to like 1,100, somewhere around that area, 1,000, 1,100. And everyone calms down and gets a little bit better. Um, but if there was actually real market dynamics between customers, then they would probably try and solve that problem. They wouldn't just have you sitting in a tarmac, just breathing in everyone's dead air.
Man, I think you just CO2 pilled me. I need to get my own CO2
The
monitor.
best brand, the best brand is Aranet, Aranet. I highly recommend it. It runs on AA batteries. It lasts forever. It has a little e-ink display on it. And just simply just tells you the temperature and tells you the CO2 content. And you can pair it with your phone. It's very simple with Bluetooth. Um, so I just keep it in my bag and I can just check the app on my phone. But when I'm somewhere, I can just put it down on like the mantle or something and just read the e-ink screen.
Maybe we should reach out to Aranet to become a sponsor. We're a CO2 monitoring podcast now.
There you go. I have not. This is I pay them. They don't pay us.
I
Highly
kid.
recommend.
This is not a CO2 monitoring podcast. It's a Bitcoin podcast. We're going to get
Not
to Bitcoin.
yet. If we go sub 100K, we might become one.
Yes. Before we get to Bitcoin, sad day for the city of Philadelphia. Over the weekend, we lost one of our legends of the radio waves, Pierre Robert, 93 WMMR DJ for the last 44 years. The voice of the city, the king of rock and roll in Philadelphia, passed away. But it looked like he went peacefully. He had a good week last week, but Pierre's been on my mind today. My dad was a massive fan of him. Been thinking about my dad a lot, and Philly lost a legend over the weekend. I just wanted to say something about Pierre Robert. Incredible DJ in the Philadelphia FM radio space.
R.I.P.
All right, now on to the good stuff. Actually, maybe I shouldn't call it good stuff. The current price of Bitcoin is $107,080. I think it's officially done. One cuck buck is going to get you 934 sats, sitting at a $2.14 trillion market cap. We're at block height 921,499, which means we were one block away from block 921,500. We had a pretty sizable difficulty adjustment earlier this week, I believe early yesterday morning, of upward 6.3%. New difficulty all-time high. Right now, we are 1,828 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment, estimated to be on November 11th, 2025, looking like a negative 2.2% adjustment as of right now. Still very early in this epoch, so take that estimate with a grain of salt. Blocks been coming in at 10 minutes and 21 seconds on average. Wow, this may be the lowest I've ever seen Clark's teeny weeny mempool. 360 transactions in Clark's teeny weeny mempool. If we go over to mempool.space, 89,896 before it jumped 1 sats per VByte across the board. As you may know, Clark's teeny weeny mempool isn't including teeny weeny transactions with sub 1 sat per VByte transaction fees. Mempools is. That is why you see a massive 90,000 transaction divergence there.
Holy shit.
But Logan, go to the mining thing. I wrote about this 2 days ago. The average hash rate over the last week is 1.12 zeta hash per second. I'm sure you freaks will recall in mid to late September, we covered the fact that we crossed 1 zeta hash for the first time on the 1 week average. It's a pretty significant milestone. People have been waiting for 1 zeta hash of mining. And now, like, you have 1 zeta hash and then you have decimals to the side, and everybody can think, like, oh, that's interesting, those decimals. But 1.12 zeta hash, so we've added 120 exahash since the middle of September to the Bitcoin network. And to put that into context, the network in total didn't reach 100 exahash for the first time until January 2020, 11 years into the protocol launching. So I just think, this is what I wrote about. I don't think people can really comprehend how fast hash rate is expanding right now. Like what took 11 years to go from 0 to 100 exahash, the network just added that in less than 6 weeks, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Higher.
And that's a signal there. There is a signal there. The bedrock, the foundational layer, arguably, of the Bitcoin network, the hash rate, the energy being converted to electricity, being converted to hashes, being converted to the scarce digital best money ever that we know as Bitcoin. And that process is very strong right now and only getting stronger as more people plug in miners. And I wrote the article. People were like, what's driving it? Multitude of factors. People finding cheap energy, people plugging bid axes into their houses, nation states mining, chips getting more efficient, the whole gamut. We don't know exactly. And that's the beauty of it. We'll never know exactly who's plugging in miners where.
Did you see in our group chat with our wives, apparently my toddler is watching RHR and saw you drinking salt of the earth and immediately asked for salty water.
And now, hey, is this an announcement?
There
New
we go.
sponsor announcement. You did all the back. I don't know what our promo code is. I think you created it.
It's just RHR.
Just RHR. 15% off. drinksote.com
There you
slash
go.
RHR.
It's the best. That also helps with travel. Just pound that.
Pound this.
Have your kids pound that instead of any kind of soda or anything like that.
No.
And beef jerky. Beef jerky and salt to the earth and hydrated and fed. No seed oils, all set.
My boys are addicted to the chomp beef sticks. Big beef sticks. Here, 3 times a day. Can I get a beef stick? Yes, you can get a beef stick.
My oldest calls it good meat.
Good meat.
Yeah, because that's what I would call it. I was just like, "You want some good meat?"
88 Sats Radio says that looks delicious. It is delicious. It's the pink lemonade, and I also got a packet of the creatine in here.
The grapefruit is my favorite. My lady's favorite is pink lemonade. So when my son wants it, he goes, "Mama salty or Papa salty?" Papa salty is grapefruit, and Mama salty is pink lemonade.
I like all of them. Orange, grapefruit. I go on waves. I'm on a pink lemonade wave right now. I'll catch the orange wave probably next. All right, to the list. We are God knows how many minutes into the show. And we should probably talk about Bitcoin. First topic on the list looks like Floppy has discovered what seems to be a critical vulnerability in the Cashu protocol, particularly if you're running a Mint. Callie quote tweeted Floppy and said, "Please update. Floppy found a denial of service that we patched in version 0.18.0. It's a funny one, actually, but more soon. Funds are SAFU, but you should update ASAP. Thanks for the disclosure, Floppy. Very good catch." So
Yeah, so this is specifically, if you've been watching for a while, you know we front load, at least on the list, we front load disclosures, vulnerability disclosures. So this is specifically if you are running a Mint. And my understanding is someone malicious can take down your Mint, stop it from being online, but they can't actually compromise funds. But you should still update ASAP. Also, there might be a little bit of confusion, so I just want to make sure real quick. I see no Lambo for you in the YouTube comments. To be clear, Salt of the Earth's main product is electrolytes. It's just really high quality electrolytes. A lot of, by the name, you can tell it's quite salty. Marty separately is using their creatine. So
yes, I put a packet of electrolytes, packet of creatine, and don't worry, no Lambo. I'm not giving my young children creatine.
There we go. I just wanted to clear the air there.
It's not a gummy. I know Sean, the founder of Salt of the Earth, very well, and he prides himself on finding the best ingredients on the electrolytes and the creatine. I know you mentioned creatine gummies, but I trust Sean. And you can verify in the ingredients. Next up on the list, big discussion this week is BIP44 Softfork has been proposed with the launch of Bitcoin Core version 0.30.0 about 2 weeks ago now, and particularly the uptick in people upgrading to it. I'm trying to that Hanum. So
It's a
somebody
NIM.
took. Yeah, I know it's a NIM. Datonum. I don't know how to pronounce it. Took to the mailing list and the BIP repo and said, due to Core version 30 gaining in popularity, it has become necessary to move forward on Luke Jr.'s ML proposal to temporarily limit arbitrary data at the consensus level, which so far has 3 weeks with no objections. I'm just reading what he's written. Implementation for the proactive deployment is under construction, while the quote-unquote reactive deployment is feature complete but lacks test. Mailing list thread at the link. And so, yeah, it seems like the escalation to launching, I guess this would be considered a soft fork, but could create a hard fork if most people don't download it, or a lot of people don't download it, is escalating. If you go to the link
Yeah.
To be clear.
To be clear, because words matter, a soft fork that is pushed through without consensus can result in a chain split. A hard fork is like more preemptive. It's like, there's going to be a chain split ahead of time. It's not backwards compatible. Ideally has relay protection. So you don't have transactions, that are cross relayed between chains.
Replay or relay?
Yeah, replay protection. Yeah, I said relay protection. I'm still running on jet lag. You have when we've never actually seen a soft fork attempted without overwhelming consensus. I think it could get quite messy. I think it's more important than ever to self-custody your own Bitcoin and use your own node. Because if you're not, and there is a chain split, then you're going to be at the mercy of whatever custodians you use. And I think kind of the same goes with these leveraged Bitcoin stocks, which way they want to go. And specifically, one of the dynamics at play with a soft fork in this type of scenario is the soft fork chain is restricting rules, right? They're reducing what you can spend. So anything mined by the soft fork chain is still valid on the non-soft fork chain. So theoretically, at any point, that chain could then reorg the other chain, unless there was something actively done to prevent that reorg. So we'll see how this plays out. I think it's still pretty premature. My understanding is, this was more of a declaration rather than, any kind of implementation client being released or code being released or anything like that. Presumably it will be knots. But one piece I would say is, there's been a bunch of justifications in the soft fork that are legal justifications, with some implications that people that don't just go along with this soft fork and don't go along with this change to Bitcoin might be held legally liable. And separately, in the background, there's been murmurs of potential legal threats to people to try and push them into a rush soft fork. And I would just encourage people not to do that if that is the plan. You're your own person. You're welcome to do it. But just theoretically, presumably, threatening legal letters to competing mining pools might be a slippery slope that you don't want to go down.
Yeah, what if you're
I would just
successful? What if you're
appeal
successful
to
in the
saner
state notice?
heads.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're beating around the bush. I think this has gone way off the rails into la la land, like absurdity. I've been consistent. If it's consensus valid, implementation wants to change policy to enable things that are consensus valid. It's within consensus rules. Like, I don't know. I understand why people are making a big hoopla about it and driving it to this point, but I don't think it's the wise path. I think there's a lot of subjectivity and idealism on the sides of the Knots camp. I do think the way Core communicated things and sort of just implemented the policy could have been done better. But at the end of the day, in my mind, I'm an individual. You can have your thoughts. I'll have my thoughts. This is where I stand. I think people are making a mountain out of an anthill. And I know there's going to be people who hop in the Menchies, who hop in the live chat, accuse me of being a shill, a traitor, whatever it may be. But with that in mind, Logan, pull up the link I just put in there just to read through what Luke is proposing, which is if we're going this route, we should just close all the gaps for the immediate future. First, limit new script pub keys to 83 bytes or less, 34 doesn't seem terrible. UTXOs are a huge cost to nodes. We should always keep them as small as possible. Anything else can be hashed. Zoom in, Logan, for the people watching at home. Limit script data pushes to 256 bytes with an exception for BIP16 redeem scripts. Make undefined witness/taproot versions invalid, including the annex of op success. To make any legitimate usage of them, we need a soft fork anyway. See below. See, like, this is where subjectivity enters. To make any legitimate usage, who determines legitimate usage? Limit taproot control block to 257 bytes, 128 scripts max, or at least way less than it currently is. Way less, a bit subjective. 340 E36 scripts is completely unrealistic. Make op if invalid inside tap script. It should be unnecessary with taproot and has only seen abuse. We should do all these together in a temporary soft fork that self-expires after a year or two. This would buy time to come up with longer-term solutions, observe how it impacts the real world. Since it expires, other soft forks making use of upgradable mechanisms can just wait it out for those mechanisms to become available again. Therefore, we basically lose nothing. This is intended to buy us time, not a permanent fix. I won't read the rest of it.
I think there's some concerns. There's some concerns that it'll lock up funds, specifically in certain taproot constructions. So this would be, if that is the case, this would be the first soft fork that does that freezes people's funds actively, which I think should probably be a red line. The argument is that it's temporary, so they have a year to complain about it, and then we'll let them access their funds in a year. I think it's a feature, not a bug, that Bitcoin's incredibly hard to change. I think a lot of people on the anti-core side or the pro-not side, depending on your perspective, are upset in their perceived belief that core changed Bitcoin. I think if you believe that, it makes complete sense why you'd be upset. You might be able to argue that in practice, a default policy change in terms of relaying transactions, results in a practical change of Bitcoin, but it didn't change the consensus rules. So rushing into a change is a concern to me, into a consensus change. And then also trivializing that process, because a soft fork is always a risky process, because there's no way for us to tell consensus ahead of time. You only really find out afterwards. By doing it, something that's temporary is also a concern to me. Like, you should probably put in the work to just do it right the first time. Like, well, we're going to deal with the ship for another year. And then another potential chain split in a year, even in the best case scenario, I think is a big issue. I think we're already seeing at least one mining pool, F2 pool, which is quite large, has stated that they have no intention of going along with this. So I think people that are saying that it's, has no possibility of being messy is also just straight bullshit. If this is pushed through, it will most likely be messy. Bitcoin will be fine.
More importantly, anybody listening to this who's not seeped in the sort of low-level protocol war or discussion that is going on now and is looking inside from the outside and saying, what the heck, what do I do? Do I download this software? Do I download that software? What version should I? Do nothing. Just don't do anything. The best.
But hold self-custody.
Hold self-custody, but do nothing.
Yeah.
Just hold it in self-custody.
Take a deep breath, hold self-custody. Bitcoin's rule set is very difficult to change. And Bitcoin is incredibly robust and has had effectively 0% downtime, near as close to zero as you can get. But yeah, once again, just to reiterate, the reason self-custody is important, regardless of your opinions, like on which side of this debate you lie on, is because if you don't self-custody, then once again, you're trusting the custodian to make decisions for you. Because if we do end up in a situation where there is a chain split, if you own one Bitcoin today, you'll own one Bitcoin on each side of the chain. So to Marty's point, if you do nothing, when one chain should eventually trend to zero. That's my thesis, at least. That's what we've seen in the past. The one that is quote unquote the minority one, the one that the market dictates is less valuable, will trend to zero over time. So some people will try and bet one side against the other. If a chain split lasts long enough and a market develops, people will try and trade them against each other. But if you do nothing, then you're at no risk of loss, really. So this all is, can be quite frustrating, regardless of which side you're on. But I think it's a minority group of people that are even talking about this. I do not think this is the cause of the recent price dip or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's officially a price dump yet because Marty hasn't dictated if it is one. I think that's probably more macro related.
We're under 107. It's a dump. We're dumping. We're dumping.
It's officially a dump.
Yeah, everybody goes smash buy.
But yeah, I think I don't know. This is definitely the early days. I think it's important that we acknowledge that a Softfork proposal is out there. But I feel like this is something we'll probably be talking about for a while. So this is just the entry to the discussion.
Yeah. Precedent for do nothing too. I think we go back to 2017, the Bitcoin Cash fork, and why you should hold your Bitcoin in self-custody. Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash forked off, I believe at the end of August. I think it was August 30th. But 2017.
To be clear, that was a hard fork.
Hard fork, yeah. Bitcoin Cash hard forked off. But if you held Bitcoin in self-custody, you immediately had access to coins on both chains. And Coinbase didn't give their users access to Bitcoin Cash. If you were holding a Bitcoin balance on Coinbase, there was a lot of discussion back and forth in the industry, particularly around the exchanges. Like, what do we do? Do we give our clients access to both coins? How do we do that? Coinbase waited 4 months to do it, and they ninja launched it I believe it was December 21st, right around Christmas time when not many people.
It was like a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was like a Tuesday at 7 p.m. During the Christmas holiday, and I think the price may have actually pumped. But regardless, if you wanted to,
I think Bitcoin Cash almost hit a half of one Bitcoin.
No,
I think it was all-time high. I think it was but wasn't that Tuesday all-time high Bitcoin Cash?
Yeah, wicked up temporarily. It was on the 1 minute chart, wicked up to 0.5 BTC per BCH.
But I mean, that's a perfect example to Marty's point. If you panicked at that point and sold your Bitcoin for Bitcoin Cash because you thought it was about to flip, you fucked up big time.
Yeah.
The people that just did absolutely nothing were fine.
Yeah. Let's be aware. It's happening. Did it get, because I was recorded an episode with Danny earlier this week in Hodl and Eric Case, and sorry, Danny, if I'm spoiling the incredible podcast that we recorded, but this came up briefly in conversation. I was looking for an official BIP list. I think they took it out of the official BIP list. If you hit the link that you had, the GitHub logo has a red X on it. I don't think this is in the official BIP repository anymore. And then you have all this drama now emanating from this. Did they revoke DNS access to Bitcoin Core? Luke's DNS access. He had the privileges to sign a chain state to validate that it was valid at a particular point in time. And I think they removed.
He's one of 12 DNS seeds, something like that. So when you bootstrap a node at first, to find other nodes, they hit these hard-coded nodes that are run by volunteers. And I think there was definitely a pull request or an issue created in the repo to remove him. I mean, I don't think that has actually been processed or anything. That it hasn't been merged. I mean, the argument, I think it's a little bit, it's clearly an emotional, well, fuck you too kind of thing. But Luke has literally said Bitcoin Core is malware. So it's a little bit weird for him to be seeding malware, if that's actually his opinion. And to Marty's point of like, I think this has gone completely off the rails. I will unequivocally say that Bitcoin Core is not malware. One of the best reviewed pieces of open source software in the world.
You shill. You BlackRock shill. Phil Mustang in the Nostr live stream, 21,212 sats. Peace and love, boys. Marty, you still look like my cousin Hank. Well, if I look like your cousin Hank, I hope I continually still look like him. I don't know if he's changed or if I changed. But if we look alike at any point in time, we should probably look alike into perpetuity, I would imagine. But thank you for the zap.
I do have a ride or die freak telling me separately that Bcash did not hit 0.5 Bitcoin.
No, it hit like 0.25, if I recall correctly.
Okay, well, I just asked Maple. Maple said it hit 4,300 on December 2017. What was the price of Bitcoin?
16,000 then.
No, I don't think so. I think it was lower. At 13.8. Okay, so you're right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Maple, for fact checking us live.
Maple getting better. Speaking
it was
of recording,
14,000. Yeah, 4,500 divided by 14,000.
I recorded with Mark from Maple earlier today. Great episode that'll be out next week. Got to support the private AI. I'm sure you saw it, the new humanoid Neo. I know you saw it because you responded to my
It was
note about
it was 0.32 BTC.
0.32
was the price in Bitcoin terms, which is arguably more important than the dollar price. Yeah, what's the deal with that? I mean, isn't that not a real product? They just like Twitter.
I think it's similar like when they first
on
demoed
the hype train.
I think it's similar to when they first demoed Optimus. Like Elon came out and admitted, like, yeah, we had Tesla workers like in a building.
They have like an Indian dude at a call center, like operating the robot.
Yeah. There were some incredible memes that came out. But yeah, I mean, they're pushing for this humanoid robot stuff. And I won't spoil my conversation with Marx, but I mean, it seems pretty evident that this push towards a multitude of different robot form factors that are going to be part of your everyday life. I mean, I think first, arguably, Tesla. We've talked about this before on the show. And now I can't help but be hyper aware of it when I'm driving on the road or parking in a parking lot, like and park next to a Tesla. It's like that thing is videotaping me right now.
So many cameras.
Yeah. But now, like when we get to this humanoid stuff, they're going to have cameras too. And we have to seriously think about what type of privacy nightmare we might be stumbling into.
No one gives a shit, Marty.
I give a shit. You give a shit.
Yeah, I'm being provocative. There's few of us. It's. I mean, they've been setting it up, right? Like you have the Ring cameras on everyone's doorbells, connect to Amazon servers. They make those personal assistants as well, right? Like Alexas and stuff with cameras now for your bedside. They make like a little clock. So I think a bunch of people. I think a bunch of people will do it, and yeah, I mean, I think it's. I think the white pill is actually, the white pill is that it probably will get worse before it gets better, and there's just going to be tons of privacy compromises, and then as the privacy compromises happen, people will see the light and move to better tools and protect themselves. And I think the important part is to have those tools available to them when they realize the need for them. but the majority of people will not realize the need without significant pain that I don't think we've seen yet.
Yeah, I think you said it best yesterday in response to my Neo meme on Nostr. Robot Fight Club, then Bitcoin Standard.
There you go.
We've got a 23,332 sat boost, or zap, excuse me, in the Nostr live stream. That's a palindrome zap for anybody following along at home. From Florida, Justin. I'm assuming FL means Florida. Longtime ride or die since 2020. First able to participate live thanks to Primal. Shout out to Primal. Appreciate all you do to support the plebs in building out a great ride or die community. Well, Justin, number one, thank you for the zap. Number two, this community is building itself. We come back because you guys
getting that we have such a popping live chat with, once again, not giving any notice whatsoever when we were going live.
Yeah.
It's so awesome just seeing it directly in whatever Nostr app you use. I mean, Primal supports it. I think Amethyst supports it. Nostr, obviously Zapstream, but pretty fucking cool. And it's going to get better. We're working on, specifically on the Primal side, we're working on better notifications and reliability and whatnot. A lot of things for Primal 3.0. What?
BTC pins. You have a dirty mind, sir.
No, I've talked about this in the past. I think that's like the BTC Pen said, think the remote robot operators will quit when everyone uses them to masturbate. Like, that is actually,
some of them actually like it. You know, some of them are probably hoping for that, if we're being honest.
Well, no, if you forget the remote operators is like a temporary bullshit hype thing. Like, we are going towards my like dystopian view is, or at least my like short to medium term dystopian view is, they create like VR pods, right? Like the tech bros create like VR pods that you just get into the pod. So not a robot, you get into the pod and then you're like on a beach somewhere. And the last piece, like wherever you want, like you can be in perfect, no problems, no personal responsibility, just like life on training wheels. They like hook you up to an IV or whatever. So you're like quote unquote nourished, like fucking seed oils and shit. All they have to, the last piece is simulating the sex. If they can simulate sex that's even like nearly close to real sex, like people are just going to check out. They're already checking out on social media and checking out on video games and porn and all this other shit. If they can get in a VR pod and like have sex with like the girls of their dreams or whatever and the places of their dreams, they're just going to fucking check out from society. And that's going to get really fucking dark. The bright side of that, as a Bitcoiner perspective, is they probably will pay with Bitcoin, right? So it'll be like, it'll cost a certain, you'd like pay 1,000 sats, 2,000 sats, and then you like check out for a month in your VR sex paradise. And then after that, productive individuals will rebuild society, because the unproductive class will just check out, clearly not reproduce, be in their little VR pods. And then we'll have a long grind to utopia.
Yeah. While you were bringing up this topic. And gullible mistake. The first movie to ever talk about this was Demolition Man. Don't ever search Demolition Man virtual sex scene on X. Kids. I just made that mistake. Don't do it. But in Demolition Man, Sylvester Stallone, Sandra Bullock, I have it here. I think we may get kicked off YouTube if we play it for copyright things, but go look up on YouTube, not on X, Demolition Man virtual sex scene. They like put on, like they're literally physically across from each other and they put on the helmets, and that's how they have intercourse with each other. It's not graphic at all.
I mean, it's
I want to talk about porn.
It's a theme that's been in sci-fi for a bit now. It's in a bunch of books too. I mean, I see some questions about core increasing op return in the comments. Do these people just listen to RHR for the first time? I don't think so, but just in practice of good faith, the argument for increasing the default op return relay limit on core from core maintainers was that you can do these transactions anyway. Consensus rules don't limit them. And they are presumably things that are outside of policy, outside of these mempool relay policies, are getting mined anyway. So we might as well remove the limit, remove the default limit. Users can add the limit if they want to. And not basically dictate a limit on the release level. And I personally was against that idea. Like, I think most of this could have been avoided if you just let users configure a higher limit if they wanted to in an easier way, right? Because instead of just going to the config file, put in the GUI or something. And also just the fact that everyone is aware of knots. But Peter Todd, who I have a lot of disagreements with, also releases Libre Relay. So Libre Relay is his version of core. Knots is Luke's version of core. Knots restricts relay rules. Libre Relay increases relay rules. And people are already running Libre Relay. And there's a question of how many of those nodes actually need to exist there for these things to get propagated throughout the network regardless. And it's a much lower amount than the opposite side. It's some minority amount, right? 1% of nodes, 2% of nodes that are running unrestricted relay rules are probably going to send these transactions around the network. So with all that said, if that was the reality we were going to live in anyway, core could have just done nothing, let that reality play out, avoid all the drama, avoid all the bullshit, and our lives probably would have been way better. Like, I just wouldn't have had to deal with this for the last year and a half. So I'm incredibly frustrated with core on that side. And then I'm incredibly frustrated with the gaslighting that I've had to deal with on the other side. It's particularly this idea that, like, I don't care about Bitcoin as money, which is just fucking retarded. So both those sides have been incredibly frustrating to me. And we're here in the middle. I support your desire to run whatever you want to run. But I think, the plot has been lost a bit here. And it kind of feels like just some kind of immune disorder, or just like technical, dedicated Bitcoiners are just attacking each other.
Yeah. No, somebody was asking earlier in the chat about LibBitcoin. What about Eric Voskuil's LibBitcoin? I don't know if there's a stable release out there yet, but that implementation, so it's another implementation of Bitcoin. Anything that's consensus valid goes in LibBitcoin.
Yeah.
It's like the loosest from a policy perspective, I guess is how you would describe it. If it's consensus valid, it's okay in LibBitcoin.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk for 8 hours about it, go find Eric Voskuil, and he'll definitely fill you in.
I also do think that, there's just a lot of people want to control Bitcoin. The good thing is that they can't. But if the fight over, what is the reference implementation wasn't about op return, it was going to be about something else. Like, this is something that has been brewing in the background for a while. Op return got changed, and people that wanted to be in control of the main, implementation of Bitcoin seized the moment. And right now, what we do see in the background is, the Knots crew is very loud on socials, but there are a couple parties in the background that are working, trying to, be one of the main releases for Bitcoin out there. And all this stuff has just been brewing in the background for years. It's part of the reason OpenSats started in the first place. Just the idea of having a independent organization that was more transparent and more broad, so to speak, than what exists to expand the developer pool that are operating in Bitcoin.
You guys are attacking Bitcoin with all this developer support, all right? That's what I hear on the streets.
I think the best part is, I mean, you can agree or disagree with Saylor's belief that incredibly well-funded devs that just want to do good for Bitcoin are the biggest threat to Bitcoin. But if you do agree with that belief, it's just a weird dichotomy to not think that Luke raising a shit ton of money for his privately funded thing while wanting to do good for Bitcoin, which he clearly wants. Like, I clearly think Luke wants to do good for Bitcoin.
I do not doubt his intentions.
Doesn't fall under that same umbrella. And I would say that if you think, you want to see Bitcoin being used as money, it should be interesting to see where Saylor falls into all of this.
Should we stay live until we'll switch the title on the go? We got the strategy earnings call coming up. We'll live stream it and comment on it as it's going on.
You think they're not going to bring up the Softfork?
No, but we're trying to pump views here. Reacting to strategy, sales call, shareholder call, live. On to another BIP at the application layer, which in my mind, considering we just spent about an hour talking about BIP 444, this is a BIP that was also released in the last week that has not gotten as much attention. And again, it's at the application layer, but it is chain code delegation from the BitKey team. This was incredibly what's the word I'm looking for? I was incredibly pleased to see this. Improving privacy and collaborative multi-sig. Long story short, the BitKey team has designed a way in which if you're engaged in a collaborative custody model, in BitKey's model, you have a key on the phone, a key on the hardware device, and then Block holds a key in the cloud server that they control. Typically up to this point, whether you're doing it with BitKey, Unchained, Casa, whoever it may be, when you go to make the wallet, you give a bunch of information, it creates an XPub that you can send Bitcoin to. With chain code delegation, the BitKey team has found a way to limit the amount of information that you share when you're creating 2s3 multisig or a multisig and MFN multisig in a way that if you hold a threshold of signatures that allow you to move the Bitcoin held within those multisig wallets, you can accumulate Bitcoin into those wallets without the third party knowing that you have Bitcoin. So this is a privacy upgrade for collaborative multisig, which is incredible to see.
Yeah, I absolutely love to see it. I mean, this has always been the biggest negative trade-off of collaborative custody. The positive trade-off being you have someone to hold your hand, make it easier for you to have secure multisig and have a secure setup. And the negative was you had to trust them with your privacy. So this has kind of been that kind of holy grail middle ground that people, one way or another, were looking for, right? This idea where you can have a company or even some other trusted individual, right? You can imagine an Uncle Jim type of scenario that is helping you with your Bitcoin custody setup, but you don't want them to know your full transaction history and balance. So I think this is awesome. I think it's cool that they released it out to the public. It seems like they plan to, well, they say in the post that they plan to release it with BitKey. It's not in BitKey yet. So, I mean, there's an alternate reality here, right? Where they added it to BitKey first and then released it to the public. So it's pretty cool that, they've been relatively consistent on building in the open and trying to push forward the industry as a whole, which is just awesome to see.
Agreed. And some nuance here. If you have privacy, so you set up the multisig wallet, you as the end user, you can send Bitcoin to the addresses associated with it. the collaborative custody partner does not know where or does not know the addresses or the amount of Bitcoin in it. The only way, so this design and this model of collaborative custody, there is an instance in which your privacy would be unearthed, and that is if you lose one of your keys and you need the collaborative custody partner to be a co-signer in a transaction. For the UTXOs involved in that transaction, they'll obviously know how much Bitcoin is in those addresses and where they're going.
You're never going to get around that. If they're signing a transaction, they're going to know what's in the transaction. The ideal world is that they don't know anything until they're actually needed to sign, which is awesome.
Yeah.
A couple other things in the live chat, just because I don't know, freaks. We try and do well by you. I hope like our actions are been pretty obvious over the last 7 years doing the show weekly. That I just want you all to take personal responsibility and make your own decisions. And we try not to shy away from harder conversations or frustrating conversations, depending on perspective. But I see a couple comments here. The first one is, didn't Saylor already share a video that said run knots at the end? It was a video of him saying that funding open source developers is a risk to Bitcoin. And then at the end of the 3-minute video, it was like a clip from a What Bitcoin Did episode he did. At the end of the 3-minute clip, it said run knots, and he like reposted someone else's video. So there's a decent chance that he did not know that it said run knots at the end. He's kind of been dancing around a little bit. But I do like my intuition states that believes that Saylor would not be in favor of a potentially contentious soft fork that could result in a chain split. It seems ideologically against everything that he's spoken about previously, which is do as little risk as possible to a working base of a global financial system. Now, you know how chaotic it would be for Saylor if there's a chain split? That's like actually, there'd be so much chaos, like in BlackRock too and stuff. There'd be a lot of chaos there. I think Bitcoin would be fine, but they'd have a lot of stakeholders asking them how they're going to proceed, how they're going to handle it. But yeah, that was the big one I wanted to answer. I also saw Jor, he thanked us for clarifying, listens weekly, just impossible to find direct signal. Yeah, it's gotten very, very noisy. I mean, just for another, like, so there's like all these different, there's all these different, quote unquote layer 2 networks that are using embedding data on chain to make their network possible. Citria being one of them. But Arc is another. You have like BitVM stuff, and a lot of them are doing it in ways that end up on nodes where you can't remove them after the fact. They're unprunable. The whole reason Opportun exists in the first place is because after you verify the chain, so after you do your first verification of the chain, you download the blocks, you validate it, make sure that it's following the rules of your node, you can safely remove any Opportun data from your node. And you can actually do that on the fly as you're doing it. So you can have much less disk space. At the end of the day, you just need to keep the UTXO set, basically. That's the majority of the data. So that's why Opportun exists. The limit, obviously, the relay limit default was there to reduce spam. 100% was there to reduce spam and was relatively effective at it. Opportun is more expensive. Relay was less reliable. Opportun will still be more expensive in this situation. Relay will be more reliable. Libra Relay might have made this a reality regardless. Direct API miners kind of made this a reality regardless. And everyone wants to control Bitcoin. Well, a lot of people want to control Bitcoin. Not all of us, but a lot of people want to control Bitcoin. Unfortunately, it's very resistant to control by default. That's the key value prop. That's like, there's no way that Bitcoin scales to the world and we all agree on everything. So the result is you just need a system that's really hard to change and very, very difficult to change. There's no, otherwise it just falls into this governance bullshit, stakeholder, stock voting and shit like that. And then you just have human corruption at the end of the day.
Yeah, if you haven't already, go read Nick Szabo's piece on social scalability.
Has Szabo commented on this? Because he's been very pro knots lately. Has he commented on the Softfork?
I've not checked on it. Money, Blockchains, and Social Scalability, written in February 2017. I'm gonna go give that a read. It's on the Nakamoto Institute. You can find it there. I have not checked in on Szabo. Big fan.
The last piece I would say is like, and I actually have been very consistent on this throughout the years. You can go back and listen to the show or different interviews and stuff. Is I think in this type of situation, if there's a concern of being contentious, like the safer path is actually a hard fork, like a preemptive hard fork, like have a flag day, like know what day the chain split's going to happen, put in replay protection, reduce any types of chaos possible, and then whichever side is dictated as more valuable by the market would win in that situation, and it would be way less chaotic. If we're going to enter a situation where you might have 6 block reorgs or potentially even longer, that's a pretty crazy time for Bitcoin. And I don't think anyone really benefits from that. Or do the work to build consensus ahead of time before you push through a soft fork. And that usually does not result, the best way to do that is probably not social media mobs calling people cucks and shit. That's probably trying to bridge the gap.
That's hard though. Why go the hard route? It's an existential crisis. All right, moving on. Advancements in Bitcoin and Lightning wallets. OpenSats, an organization you may have heard of, came out with an update on some of the advancements in the wallet space. I'm sure you've heard of this organization. I'm sure you've read this blog post. What drew your eye here, Matt?
So at OpenSats, I'm very proud of what we built. We've funded over 330 grants, over $30 million, almost $30 million. We're just under $30 million has been sent out in open source grants over the last 5 years, all in Bitcoin, all made possible because Bitcoin is the best money. We run on a full Bitcoin standard. We take 0 fees of donations, no cut of donations. And we're sending out almost $1 million a month to open source contributors in 40 plus countries. Like, I think like the level of success is pretty hard to grasp. And I don't think people really appreciate it. Like a lot of the wallets they're using, a very small subset of that, by the way, is protocol work. A lot of the wallets people are using, the Nostr apps, people are using things like BTC Pay Server, PayJoin. We're going to have, we're seeing massive improvements in PayJoin across the network. We've been heavily involved in that. But a lot of these other charities they do like these massive PR pushes and stuff, right? Like they have like beautiful brochures and everything, but that's all getting pulled out of donations, right? Like that, like they're able to do that because they're spending a bunch of money on operations that we're not spending because we're not taking money out of donations. So we're trying to do more of these impact reports. And this is our latest impact report. And the idea is, let's showcase, some of the successes that our open source contributors have had that we're providing grants for and supporting them. And this one was about Bitcoin wallets, both on-chain and Lightning. So I'd encourage people to give it a read if you're curious, if you actually want to know like what we're funding and what we're doing. And if you like what you see, in an ideal world, I would rather if the majority of funding for OpenSats wasn't coming from large corporations and a few rich people, who undoubtedly mean well, and we're very grateful for their support. But it'd be better if that base was distributed more. And so you can donate with Bitcoin. You can donate with Bitcoin anonymously. You can donate with Bitcoin under your name and get a tax deduction because we're a 501c3. Or you can donate with dollars and we'll automatically convert that to Bitcoin, hold that in our multi-sig treasury. And recently we added the ability for you to donate with dollars reoccurring, $20 a month. And we'll automatically convert it into Bitcoin. So you can just go to OpenSats.org if you want to learn more there. That's obviously also tax deductible. And so like the dream is like you have like 100,000 ride or dies given $20 a month. And then we just accelerate the open source movement. We just push this whole movement 10 years, 20 years faster. So maybe we can avoid, VR sex pods reality.
They're coming, aren't they? In more ways than one.
Nice pun.
Thank you for the work that you, GG, and everybody else at OpenSats does to make this possible. Consider donating, freaks. If you're supporting the show using Podcasting 2.0, if you're boosting the episode, streaming us sats as you listen, I believe 5% to 10% of every stream boost is going straight to OpenSats Lightning node.
Yeah, we run our own Lightning node, so you can donate with Zaps through the Lightning address, or with Podcasting 2.0. It uses bare pub keys, but a lot of podcasts, ours included, Dispatch as well. There's a bunch of others that when you support through Podcasting 2.0, a cut just automatically goes to OpenSats, which is really cool. Just in the process of good faith, I just want to comment. I see Rowney is back to the knots discussion.
Oh, Jesus, come on.
Well, no, I think this is important. Right? So Rowney says, I just think that knots and this Softfork are different things. I agree with what knots represents, but I'm not sure yet if this Softfork is the solution. But I'm also not sure that doing nothing and letting nodes upgrade to Core 30 till there's all kind of data on the blockchain is the way to go. And this is why I've been very consistent in my personal recommendation, how I view the situation, which is you can just not update your node. And this is something that we've talked about for years. Like one of the core tenets, one of the core checks on Bitcoin core maintainers is that there's no auto updates, that you're not automatically updating to the latest version. I think NVK brags that he runs his organization on V19. I don't know how many years ago it was. I think that was like right after SegWit. Maybe don't go that far back. I think, there was a lot of nice improvements that have happened since then. But you can. That's the cool part. And so my concern with, while I think a lot of proponents on the knot sides means well, is if instead you're just updating to whatever the latest knots version is, and Luke decides that he wants to soft fork this thing, then you are going to be running the soft fork. That has always been the concern. But if you just run an old version and don't update and see how all this plays out, you don't have that risk. So it actually is kind of one and the same. This is what it was all building up to the entire time. Anyway,
That was
I'll comment on it again in a little bit. I think it's important.
I'll allow it. All right. I'm looking for the Financial Freedom Report. I don't know if it's come out yet today.
I mean, I said we weren't going to talk about knots again for 5 minutes, but Jevy, Ride or Die Freak, makes a good point that in knots, one of the changes Luke made is that after 2 years, your knots release doesn't work anymore and you have to update, which is just ridiculous. Like, no, don't do that.
All right.
Sorry, 5 more minutes.
Probably not the final word on the matter, but we'll see. You were in Lugano last week. I don't think we read a Human Rights Foundation story
of
the week, but we can read one and we can create a new one for Arsh and crew for this week. The Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, BitChat usage increases during pro-democracy protest. Ahead of the October 25th presidential elections, protests are spreading across Côte d'Ivoire, and use of BitChat, an offline and encrypted messaging tool, is increasing. In early October, officials banned public protests on the Constitutional Council's decisions to reject opposition candidates while approving the candidacy of an incumbent president, Alassane Ouattara, who has defined term limits to seek a fourth term in office. Security forces used tear gas on peaceful demonstrators and arrested more than 250 people. This marks the fourth recorded instance of surging BitChat activity during periods of civil unrest as people turn to freedom tech when rights are restricted. And I'm going to write one for the Financial Freedom Report this week. It's really not financially related, but could be, and not political unrest or civil unrest. But
I think I know where you're going with it.
as we all know, Jamaica was subjected to Hurricane Melissa this week, largest Cat 5 hurricane to make landfall since Katrina. Obviously, Jamaica is a small island nation in the Atlantic, and you want the tech to be there when you need it. And it was cool to see. I mean, not cool to see what's happening in Jamaica, obviously.
Right.
Terrible, but BitChat was the number 2 downloaded app in Jamaica this week as things were getting chaotic for them.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it's a relatively recent app, right? But you see the boosts on the protest side, right, and the uprising side. This is the first time we've actually seen it in a disaster scenario, and it's a perfect example of, when you have really useful freedom tech, it can be used in many different situations to empower individuals. And this is a perfect example of a disaster situation where you might lose power, you might lose traditional communications, and having robust mesh communications, ideally that have Bitcoin integrated, so you can send money around, to become very, very powerful. And on that note, by the way, one of my fellow unpaid board members, volunteers at OpenSats, Dread, is based in Jamaica, is building a business out there and a family. And he's been live, live posting about the damage that's been done over there. And he's raising funds as well through his BTC Pay server. So if you go to primal.net/dread, there's a link there right at the top of the page to his BTC Pay server if you want to send some Bitcoin. I have a ton of respect and trust in Dread that if you get him Bitcoin, he will put it to use in a good way.
I supported. I donated yesterday. I highly recommend you all do. Dread is one of the nicer humans I've met in the space, and
he's a wonderful human being.
Here, trust me.
I mean, in those disaster situations when you can just zap Bitcoin into them, you really feel the power.
Yeah.
No middleman, just straight to where it's needed. Very privately, instantly, pretty crazy.
Yeah, that I mean just the radar videos of that storm were insane. I'm sure you saw the video of the plane flying through the eye. Mother Nature.
I did not.
You didn't see that? Logan, find the
no, I've
the
been
plane.
Traveling with children. I've just
Logan,
been
find the plane flying through the eye of Melissa. It's insane. Like, just the raw power that Mother Nature can garner up. And it was a direct hit.
No, the fucked up part was how I found out Jamaica was getting hit by a hurricane. Was Gigi messaged our board group chat and was like, guys, like, I know you're volunteers, but you have to review all these applications. We're getting all these applications and you have to review them. And Dread responded back. He's like, dude, I have a hurricane hitting me right now. And that's how me and Gigi found out that there was a hurricane.
This is in the
Damn.
eye. Yeah.
That's insane. Fucking brutal, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this. I didn't put it on the list. Well, first of all, support Jamaica, and to all the freaks out there, our prayers are with you. I mean, it's going to be rough, and anything we can do to help. I don't know. I feel like kind of helpless. Like Marty said, I donated as well. I encourage the freaks to do it. But if we can be helpful in any other way, let us know. Freaks have to stand together.
Yes. What did you forget?
Did you see SimpleX is adding a shitcoin?
No.
Someone posted in the live chat.
What's it called? SimpleX coin.
I didn't look deeply into it. There's like some NFT involved. It's to incentivize servers, people hosting servers instead of a centralized way. I'm sure it's coming from I'm not sure, but it probably is coming from a good place. I don't know what kind of rent-seeking schemes are set up there for, SimpleX itself to basically take a pre-mine or anything like that. But I have to look into it better. But high level, it's disappointing, right? This is something we see a lot. Session Messenger was another one that incorporated a shitcoin. That the tech seemed pretty solid on the privacy messenger front. I think Telegram has a lot of issues, but they also just aped into fucking shitcoins. Obviously, Signal went with mobile coin, and then kicked out their founder due to his ties on it. Part of the reason they kicked him out. NIM is like a privacy network that is trying to, be an alternative to Tor, and also incorporated all this shitcoinery into it. And I would just say out there to all the developers out there, that to the ones that mean well, there's a path where you can do this without shitcoins. It might be the harder path. It might not be as lucrative. Oh yeah, Keybase shitcoined.
They went stellar lumens.
It's a story as old as time.
Keybase was so dope too before they fucked it up.
Yeah, I think you can fix a lot of these things without blockchains. With Sats, you can use Sats. Maybe Cashu has a place in it. Maybe things like Arc. But there's definitely I was talking with my last 2 civil dispatches was with Francis of Bull Bitcoin, who's incredibly bullish on Arc, and Alex B, who's been working on Arc and just like very excited about it.
You've been skeptical, man. I've been bullish on Arc for like over a year now.
Well, my rule of thumb is you ignore the hype until they ship something, and they shipped it. So that's usually the sane path to take. By the way, I don't know if I said it, but the 5 minutes is up. I think BIP 444 might block Arc.
It's up.
So,
because it messes with some Taproot script stuff, right?
Yeah.
TapScript.
Yeah, one of the limits, I think, blocks how Arc works. A lot of that is above my pay grade. I mean, if you listen back to the early days of Lightning, like we got a lot of things wrong with Lightning until we used it in practice. Like that's how I learned. So our understanding of Arc is at its lowest level possible right now. It'll only improve over time. But yeah, I don't think, to the devs out there, you don't have to shitcoin. And I think what's really interesting is stuff like KeyChat and White Noise that are trying to, and BitChat that are trying to use Nostr and Sats to solve this similar problem without, having centralized servers that are, obviously vulnerable to denial of service attacks and takedowns and stuff.
You don't have to shitcoin. You don't have to add it to your chatting app. You don't have to add it to your Wi-Fi portal. You don't have to add it to your social media platform. You just need to what's your goal? Your goal is to monetize these things, right? That's what you're trying to do by creating these tokens and trying to force a utility use case on the market. You're trying to get paid for providing a service, whether that's producing content, giving people access to Wi-Fi, giving people robust messaging apps, or you want your users to be able to monetize within these things. Just use the best money. Listen, read the title of this episode. Bitcoin is the best money ever. Why would you use shitcoin to solve this monetary use cases when the best money ever exists? And you could just use that. Seems a bit lazy.
That's all true. But you can also make a shit ton of fucking money, shit ton of fucking Bitcoin shitcoining.
That's true. Yeah.
If you're the one releasing the shitcoin,
I take it all back. Matt and I are launching RHR coin. It's going to be what? It's scarcer than Bitcoin. There's only 20.5 million RHR coins that'll ever exist. Nobody can control it. 2-minute block times. I highly recommend. It's going to be the next Bitcoin.
We're never shitcoin, never will. So that's the standard. We have a token. It's called Bitcoin.
Yes, that was my whole point.
I have a 10-minute hard stop here, so I just want to cover one of the things we got sidetracked because of the SimpleX token, but a huge shout out to HRF and their development fund. Their most recent round supported 20 projects worldwide. It looks like they said 1 billion sats, so 10 Bitcoin was sent to 20 projects worldwide. Some pretty awesome projects listed here, and absolutely love to see it.
Shout out to HRF, Bitcoin Development Fund. I'm scrolling here. It looks like I'm not paying attention, but I am paying attention. I wanted to pull this up while we're talking about the need for tokens, like particularly on like the Web 3.0 thing. I saw this from Callie earlier this week and just thought this was really cool. He was highlighting how simple Cashu is. This is the entire spec for the 402 protocol for selling API access through Cashu tokens. And it's literally like 15 lines of text with code included or something like that. There's beauty and simplicity. You don't have to complicate things. It's over my pay grade to be able to audit the system, but I trust that it works the way in which it's supposed to, and it looks incredibly simple. Like, you want to be able to monetize content.
Really fucking cool.
Yeah. I thought this was cool. All right. You've got a hard stop in 10. Let's talk about Replicator.
Well, first, real quick, Fountain formally announced that they're releasing their podcast, their app for podcasters. So now they're not just an app where you can listen to podcasts and support podcasts and comment on podcasts, but now they're also a podcast host where you can host your podcast with them. I believe Marty's hosting TFTC with them. We're together hosting RHR with them. It's been a really great experience. We've basically been testing it. I'm not hosting Sale Dispatch with them. I'm hosting Sale Dispatch with a awesome small company called Podhome. That's also very much focused on podcasting 2.0. But this seems awesome. So if you're currently hosting your podcast with Spotify or some other inferior host, consider checking it out. They have Nostr integration. They have Lightning integration. They have video integration. And the UX is phenomenal. Paid subscriptions. You can get RHR ad-free, pay with Bitcoin. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And from like the podcaster perspective, just the amount of data, dashboards, they track your revenue. Obviously track your audience, your episode downloads, but I've been on Libsyn, I've been on Anchor, and now Fountain. And I can confidently say that from an all-around feature set, this is the best platform that I've used. I think being able to create paid subscriptions that get people early access, ad-free access, video compatible. It's completely video compatible too. So if you want to upload videos to it, make sure that people on Spotify can watch the video. If you're doing a video podcast, it just works. So highly recommend it. Shout out to Oscar, Nick, and team there at Oscar for getting this out. They've been shipping a lot this year.
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the consumer side app too for listening has gotten so much better. And I love just the integration with Nostr. Open protocols for the win. You do not need to shitcoin. And then last but not least, Replicators here, which is a new Nostr project, which I just thought was cool. It's just the idea of replicating data between relays on the fly if you're switching relays, and a third party can do it. So like if you're like, you change on your profile, you're like, now my posts are going to be on this relay instead of this relay, the third party can automatically just swap over your data from those two relays. Well, you're not swapping the data, you're copying the data to the new relay, which it's cool, simple. I think this came out of Sovereign Engineering. The Madeira incubator type thing going on over there with Gigi and Pablo and others.
GitHub's associated with Coracle, so it's official Coracle subproject.
Well, it's because it's Hodlbod.
Okay.
But either Hodlbod was at Sovereign Engineering or he heard a conversation from Sovereign Engineering that inspired it. But Hodlbod, another open source developer legend, really cool that he can work on open source full time. Proudly support him at OpenSats.
Last but not least, token 1031 shill of the episode, our partner at the firm, Jonathan Kirkwood, wrote an article on digital industrialization, land, labor, and capital. We're getting to the end of the episode. I can't speak. And I just thought this was really good, highlighting the transition that we made and we're making in 3 different facets. You have land, labor, and capital. Land stores went from physical storefronts where location was key. The internet comes, boom, your storefront is nowhere and everywhere all at once. With e-com, labor, we're beginning to see that with the emergence of artificial intelligence. You can do more with less, much cheaper. The nature of labor seems to be changing in real time. I've seen this up close and personal. So is Matt. Matt, did you make that 1031 AI video that was just posted?
Yeah.
What'd you do that with?
Sora.
Yeah. How much did that cost you? Like $5?
You like that? That was like that was the second one. It got a lot better from the first one.
Yeah. But that was cheap, right? You know, the high
Yeah, it was super cheap. Super cheap. It was, but I mean, it's like the 200 monthly subscription or whatever.
Yeah. So labor transforming. Obviously, Matt made a high quality production on the go, and then capital.
I saw Marty's AI videos, and I got curious.
It's fun.
It's my buddy from high school. I've been doing it with him.
Hell yeah.
The only guy from high school that listened to me about Bitcoin.
I love those guys.
Yeah.
I have a few of them as well.
A true ride or die.
And then obviously the last part of that Triforce is capital, digital capital, going from fiat currency owned by governments and central banks to the open source digital scarce capital that will be money. That is money already in Bitcoin.
It's a good piece.
It's a good piece.
Give it a read.
Check it out. You've got to run here. We've got 2 minutes. Anything you want to say? I've got a baby in the background here now. I got the baby in the room.
It's the way. I have more children. Freaks. Raise strong families.
You hear that, baby? You hear that?
And let's make sure Bitcoin's the best money possible for them.
Let's do it. All right. That's all we got this week, freaks. Peace and love.